go into summation. Make things really simple. Simplicity is divinity, right? People can complicate the hell out of everything. Well, I might have droned on a little bit in the past two videos. I guarantee you I covered it a lot quicker than they tried to cover it for us in photography school. I mean, we spent way over 2 weeks on this stuff, and I covered it in a couple videos that were right about 10 minutes. The point being is just remember that you have two different types of light. The type of light that pours in, and your shutter speed is the gate. That along with your aperture that is controlling that flow of ambient light. Small problem. When people try to adjust their shutter speeds, like, oh, the exposure's the same. I changed my shutter speed from 200th of a second to 60th of a second. What they don't realize is that this sort of illumination is like a gun blast going off. Whether your shutter speed is 60th of a second or 200th of a second, unless it's TTL controlled as a dumb studio strobe or a dumb off-camera speed light, the light is getting through. You need to understand that flash exposure is linked directly to aperture gain and not to shutter speed. Why, sure it is. All exposure is gain in time. That's right, but if one of those if one of those points of illumination is occurring like a shotgun blast and the other one is pouring in over time, well, obviously a studio strobe and a speed light are occurring over a period of time. However, that period of time is extremely brief. And so you need to understand that light meters, for example, and your camera, you need to be adjusting your aperture to control the illumination on your speed light or your studio strobe. And if you want to have an f2.8, you're going to either have to dial down the power, and this is why I mentioned it's so important that a studio strobe not only be powerful, but the fact that you can actually dial it way the hell down. Otherwise, you're going to have to move the studio strobe back or drop your ISO. And if you're already at ISO 100 and you're still reading that you're at aperture f5, for example, and you want to have 2.8, you're going to have to move that strobe back, or you have to drop on an ND filter. ND filter should really be the last case scenario. If you can move that studio strobe or that speed light, that's exactly what you should do. You should move it. The other important thing that I mentioned is setting your midtones, okay? At whatever it is that you set something, this word we have called standards and measures, International Standards Organization. A midtone is nothing other than saying the standard by which the rest of the exposure is going to occur of the composition that you're trying to make. You're going to set a midtone. You're going to find out what that is. You're going to set it, and then you're going to manipulate all your other lights, whether it's through reflectors or diffusers or distance, especially in layering light. So you have a hair light back here. You could have a background light back here. Once you set your midtone, then everything else is really easy. People don't, and this is what burned me up. I mean, that's probably the one video that pissed me off the most. And I've been using a light meter since photography school and can't get by without a light meter. For someone to call this throwback technology when my camera can't even do all the really important stuff that I do with a light meter, I mean, that burns my ass up. It burns me up. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take a mid-tone reading off of that. Okay. Clear. What about a delta EV average? So I just want to take an EV. It's so simple. Okay, and I got a background light back here. Let's at least assume that I do. Okay. 3 stops under, I'm below my clipping point. So I know my background's going to be black. If I want to raise it, I'm going to raise my illumination back here. How many EV am I off? 2.8 EV. Down here, I'm under. I'm completely in the black. Up here, 3.2 EV. I can't do that with my camera. Oh, wait a minute, I can. I can sit back here, I can adjust things, I go back to my camera, take a picture, chimp, come back, adjust things, go back to the camera, chimp off the camera after taking another shot, come back here and adjust, go back to the camera, take another shot. What is a waste of time? The same person that called this throwback technology called it an additional tool, like it's a time waster. No, I have this to save time. When you're saving time equals money, and it also equals professionalism, because if you're constantly adjusting and chimping off your camera, even if you've been shooting for 15 years, it makes you look, well, this is my workflow, this is how I work, I adjust and take a picture, adjust and take, it makes you look like an unprofessional douchebag. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You look like an unprofessional douchebag. You know, your wedding client's back here going, damn, you know, he's like taking 6 test shots and he's adjusted his crap 6 different times. He looks like an unprofessional douche. And that's exactly what you look like. They call this the anti-douche machine. So you don't look like a moron. So, you know, adjust, take a picture. Adjust, take a. Well, it's technically adjust, take a picture, and chimp. Adjust, take a picture, and chimp. Adjust, take a picture, and chimp. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Well, it does work if you want to look unprofessional. It's like, hey, Sally Sue, how was that photography you had for that wedding shoot? It's like, well, my pictures came out all right, but he pissed away so much time getting the exposure right and adjusting his lighting that I wouldn't recommend them. You know, he could have, like, instead of taking pictures, he spent all his time dicking around with the camera and the placement of the studio. All I have to do is place my lighting. Boom, okay, here's where I am. Adjust my lighting. I already know what it's going to be. Okay, I have my midtone set, or I can check my EV value relative to my midtone. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I know how many stops off my background are. I can adjust that immediately. I don't have to, during any of this process, take a picture and jump off the back of my camera. I've got the profile set in here. I know where this lighting is going to fall relative to my midtone. I know where the hair lighting is going to fall relative to my midtone. I can picture it in my mind because of what this tells me. There ain't no denying that. No one's going to say that's not true, that's incorrect, because it is 100% correct. And if anybody wants to contest that, come at me. Let's have at it. You're going to lose, baby. You're going to lose. So, setting your midtones, knowing that there are 2 different types of light. One is flowing in, and shutter speed is going to knock that down. The other type is going off like a gun blast, and this is where you need to control your aperture. Okay, well, I want to have aperture priority. You know, it tells me I need to constrict down. Well, that means you either need to drop your power, or move your stuff back, or you can place an ND filter over the strobe instead of your camera. You need to do something. If your aperture is too high according to your reading, you need to drop the power. And if you drop the power, change the ISO. Well, I'm already at ISO 100. Well, I guess that means you need to move your studio strobe. Something is an old saying. Isn't that the name of a song? It's called Something's Gotta Give. Okay, now I'm at aperture 2.8. That works fine. That's awesome. That's great. Why is this? Why is nobody teaching this stuff? Why? I mean, I want to know. Why is nobody teaching this? Why is nobody talking about this stuff on YouTube? I really want to know the answer to that. Why? Anyway, I hope I made that clear. I should have made it clear. Yeah, I didn't bring it down. It's good. Now I'm at 2.5 watt seconds. Perfect 2.8. Thanks for watching. I hope I cleared that up. I mean, that's the kind of the simple way of saying it. Thanks. Bye.